The suggestibility test is to ascertain whether the client falls under an analytical or non-analytical classification. It is recommended that you administer at least 2 of the suggestibility tests to your client. As a result of the suggestibility tests, if your client followed your instructions and reacted easily and quickly to the test, you would then use a non-analytical approach in their session. If your client reacted very slowly or had difficulty responding to your suggestions, they would most likely fall into an analytical classification, and you should adjust your session accordingly. Arm rising and falling. This is a very effective test that I use for almost all of my clients. Have your client stand up facing you with his feet a comfortable distance apart, then say the script in the slide. For the results on this test, if their arms responded to what you said and moved a little to a lot, then they are not analytical. Depending on the severity of how much their arms move would constitute how much or how little non-analytical they are on the scale. If their arms moved very little to not at all, then that would show that they are analytical. And again, if their arms move the opposite direction, then they are either resisting you or have some kind of fear or issue. You will need to discuss with them. Body sway on ground. This one is best done with multiple clients at the same time. For this one, would say to your clients, I'd like you to all stand side by side facing me with your arms extended outwards. I want you all to kneel on your right knee as you bring your hands downward, placing them on the ground. As you do this, you can also put your left knee on the ground. Now everyone sway your body back and forth and say moo. Pause for a moment and then say, there is absolutely no reason for this. I just wanted to see if you would do it. This can be used many times as an icebreaker at the beginning of a talk or a show, especially with a younger group such as high school or college students. Hand clasp. Authoritative. This test must be done in an authoritative manner for it to work properly. This test also works great for multiple people at the same time, such as in group sessions or even a comedy hypnosis show. Have your client stand facing you with their feet a comfortable distance apart and say, place your arms straight out in front of you facing me, locking your elbows with your hands and palms clasped tightly together. If you follow my instructions and use your imagination, on the count of 3 you will not be able to separate your hands. 1. Imagine that your hands are glued tightly together, so very tight that you will not be able to separate them. 2. Hands clasped tighter, and you notice as you focus on the thumb knuckles that they are turning wider and wider, tighter and tighter. You will not be able to separate them. And 3. Now say this in a loud authoritative voice, you cannot separate them. Try, you cannot. Wait about 2 or 3 seconds. Now stop trying and relax. Locking elbow suggestibility test. This test must also be done authoritatively. Have the client stand facing you and say, I'd like you to place. On the count of 3, if you follow my instructions and use your imagination, you will not be able to bend your arm at the elbow. 1. Concentrate on your arm as a solid steel rod from your shoulder all the way to your fingertips, locking your elbow, it will not bend. 2. From your shoulder to your fingertips, one solid piece of steel, it's as if it's not even part of your body. In a more solid steel rod, you cannot bend it. And 3. Say this in a loud authoritative voice, go ahead and try, you cannot bend it. You cannot bend it, and stop trying. Magnetic fingers. Attracting. I'd like you to place both your hands in front of you with your index fingers of each hand pointing towards each other approximately 10 inches apart. Concentrate on the space in between your fingers. Using your imagination, imagine that there is a strong attracting magnet embedded in the fingertips of each finger. If you use your imagination, you will feel your fingertips being pulled closer and closer together as the magnets attract each other continually, coming closer and closer together until your fingertips eventually touch. Continue speaking about how strong the magnet is until their fingers touch. Now imagine that your fingers are connected so tightly that in a moment when I count to 3 you will not be able to separate them. 1. Imagine that your fingers are fused together as if they are one solid finger with one bone connecting them. They will not separate. 2. They have so tightly fused together that you will not be able to separate them. State the next sentence authoritatively. 3. You cannot separate them. Go ahead and try. You cannot. You cannot. And now stop trying. The golden X suggestibility test. With eyes closed, put your right arm out straight in front of you and imagine that you are holding a golden egg the size of a small candy egg in a fist with your fingers facing the floor. You will begin to notice that the golden egg seems to have its own energy for it, growing slowly and getting warmer. As it grows, it becomes heavier and warmer until it warms your whole hand. It's growing heavier and warmer warmer, and heavier. You want to hold on to this egg that has grown now to the size of a small chicken egg, but it is pushing its weight and heat against your fingertips. It grows even larger and heavier in your hand, and you can feel that it has started to get hot. It feels quite hot. You release your fingers so that it no longer touches the palm of your hand, but the egg continues to grow bigger and heavier and hotter. It grows bigger even still so that you can hardly hold on to it. It is too heavy and too hot to hold. Your fingers slowly unfurl, and you drop the golden egg. It breaks open when it hits the floor and splashes happy energy all over you.